What's up, everybody? Welcome to this week's show. This is the You Can't Comp This NBA Trading Card Podcast. I am your host, Russell Gibson. This is episode 266. And this week we're going to talk about Collectfest. We're going to talk about a LeBron James, Michael Jordan dual autograph. We're going to talk about Steph Curry. We're going to run through a video of Kevin O'Leary. And we're also going to talk about Deni Avdija. There has been some insane sales with this guy. And in fact, I might even move that up straight to the second point. Alrighty, Collectfest this year was just on Melbourne on the weekend. I put up a socials post for that. Unfortunately, didn't get a lot of feedback on it. However, Matthew Yuga did chip in on that. Loved the show, hated my spot. This has been feedback from people. This is not the first time that I've heard this feedback coming back from people. And I understand why people feel like that. They do want to have particular spots on it. But I won't say I'll push back on this, but I will try and give the event runners some credit into this space in that they're really trying hard to put all the different people into the similar spots. So they've got NBA on one side, they've got Pokemon running through the middle, they've got people just sort of doing general collectibles on the right-hand side of the arena. And so it kind of logically makes sense for that, but I can absolutely hear that. And I've known people from last year who, not that they didn't come back only for that reason, but that was a contributing factor of why they wouldn't come back. So definitely, if you're a store holder, make sure you give the Collectfest organizers feedback on that, because they will absolutely want to hear all about that. My personal experience was that there was a lot of Pokemon there. There was a lot of collectibles there. And I wouldn't say that I liked it or disliked it, but that's just my, personal observation on that. And obviously I'm an NBA guy, so I'm more looking purely for NBA. But in saying that, I thought the vibe was absolutely fantastic. The way that they managed the crowd in the morning and then had the afternoon tickets is very, very logical. Listening to the vendors, though, it did seem like they were very, very busy for particular times in the morning. And then in the afternoon, obviously when the second wave came through, they were just, run off their feet. I stuck around and pretty much until the doors closed at the end of the day. And I felt very claustrophobic at the start of the day. But once people sort of eased off a little bit, I felt there was a lot more room to actually really get in there and take your time looking through stuff. It's a huge event. It took me at least an hour just to walk around, just to sort of just browse everything through. So that's the other part of it too. There was so much stuff on for sale there. In terms of dealing with vendors, it was very obvious to me that people keyed into buying. And so I think that was a fantastic environment that people then provided, in the sense that they could go there, sell off their cards, sell off their collections, and people were doing that. They were just dropping off huge boxes of cards, and then vendors were just going through and comping the whole lot and, making purchases. It seemed to me like maybe in the past where we've had years where there were only vendors selling and they weren't buying up, that absolutely was not the case this year. In fact, it might have been swung the opposite way, where it was all vendors doing all the purchasing and there was less purchasing going on from the payers going to the Collectfest. So very, very good for me to see that. I personally sold 2 cards that I wanted to sell. And so one of them who I sold to Neon, and obviously they're a sponsor of the show. So clearly, I can't say I wouldn't have got any favoritism there, but they gave me 90% on a Cade Cunningham rookie silver PSA 10. I was very, very happy to get that, and I took their first offer of 90%. Dealing with the guys was fine. I did have to wait in the queue for probably about 20 minutes for that, and I wouldn't even call that a complaint. That's just, they're so busy. They had 3 guys doing the buying, so they're just, really much in demand. I also had a rookie De'Aaron Fox vertical RPA number to 99. And that was a bit of a weird experience for me, because I had people just pretty much refuse to give me offers on it. They just didn't want to touch it. It was basically, the feedback I got was it was too high end for them to put into repacks. And if they do purchase it, they would be sitting on it for too long, because it's quite a niche card. And also the price point on it, which I thought was a really interesting piece of feedback to get on that card. I wasn't expecting to hear that, and I eventually sold it for probably a little bit less than what I was expecting to get for it, but I was very, very happy to sell it and move it on. So I sold that to Butler's Cards, so shout out to him for doing me a really easy deal. I found negotiating and dealing with him like very relaxing, just like the way he sort of approached the whole thing. And yeah, I was really happy to basically to moved that card on. I've purchased something else for my collection. So that was a little bit of a strategic sell for me. And now I'm already starting to think about the next card that I want to get into my collection. So I personally had a really fantastic day. It seemed to me like the crowd was definitely getting into it. All right, moving on to the next part of the show. And I think we have to talk about this like straight away. This was not in the planner. However, I was doing like a bit of a pre-warm up and I came across this. The last sale on a Deni Avdija Silver PSA 10. Check this out. On the 15th of January 2026, it sold for $672. On March the 20th, it sold for $229. So obviously that's a very, very high price for that. Raws are selling for $20 to $30. So this is the PSA buy it raw and send it off to PSA. This is the equation that you want to see here. PSA 9 last sold for $28. So the difference between a 9 and a 10 is 10x. I mean, that is absolutely dramatic. And it really makes me think that the 10s are overpriced at the moment. But if that's what the market's currently going for. So one sold for $250 on March the 8th, and that was on a best offer. Look, I think you have to be considering putting your Denis up for sale. $258 on March the 8th. So that one that sold for $600, I think that's a gross outlier. But I think the underlying message here is Deni Avdija is running hot at the moment. If you've got them sitting in your collection and you want to move them on, now is absolutely the time to be getting out and doing that. Alrighty, up next here, we got the LeBron James Michael Jordan Exquisite from 2006, dual on-card autograph, number to 23, authentic graded card. So obviously there's some condition issues with this card. However, the autos have graded to 10. It sold for $250,000 in golden. I've got a very suspicious feeling on this that this is a Wondershine card, only for the simple factor that sold for a very, very round number. I could be absolutely wrong about that. That's absolutely pure speculation on that. Let's just do a little bit of a recap in terms of what other LeBron James cards have sold for. So this is in the $1 million mark. For $1 million mark, this is going for exquisite vertical RPA. So obviously vertical RPA is a king. We know that. Moving down into the $800,000 mark. This to me is the most outstanding of all of these. 2012-13 LeBron James Gold Prism, 7 out of 10. That sold for $793,000. More than, albeit this was a few years earlier, but more than his gold refractor rookie card, which is absolutely insane. That's a super refractor 1 of 1. I won't even touch that. I think that's totally fine. This one sold here again. This is in 2021, so it's obviously a long time ago. Ultimate Collection Logoman. I think now that we're looking back at that price, it has to be $1 million card, right? If that's resold again today. Moving down the list, there's that Gold Prism again that we were just talking about. I just wanted to go down a little bit more, just to the sort of the $400,000 mark, because there's some really interesting sales on this point here. Some of these sales are a little bit older, so it's a little bit of a relevant one, but I want to try and find. Okay, here, this one here. 2025 Logoman dual patch 1 of 1 LeBron James Luka Doncic. So what I'm just trying to do here is just illustrate what you can also get for approximately that same price. So, these are still double the price, right? So I actually think whoever got this has actually got a fantastic deal. So good on them for picking that up. There's just 2 more I want to point out here. We got the gold vinyl LeBron James PSA 10 number to 1. That sold for $412,000, and that's in September 25. And the last one to point out here, this is the LeBron James Kobe Bryant Tribute Dunk, number to 10, PSA 10. That sold in October 25 for $384,000. So, yeah, again, I really think that, yes, I think the authentic grade is contributing to this quote-unquote lower price point, but still an absolutely fantastic long-term purchase. Well done to that buyer there. Next one to talk about here, this is from Card Ladder, Steph Curry 2009 Topps. Steph Curry Gold. This recently sold for $84,000 via Fanatics Premier. You can see on the all-time graph here, we've got a little bit of an up and down action going on here. So you can make a very strong argument. This card's just rebounding back to what it should have been. So obviously the people that picked this up here and just 12 months ago for $30,000, they've absolutely hit the nail on the head there. I'm very curious about this, what contributed to him dropping down that much in a very short period of time. considering everything else that's been going on in his career and resume. Like, nothing terrible's happened to him to make that go down. So I got to tell you, I personally think in the long term, this is going to be looking like a very, very good purchase. That buyer there has just done a fantastic job. Right, this is a bit of a weird one and probably something that we should look into a little bit more, but I just want to talk about this card really briefly. This is a Paul Pierce rookie refractor card. It's sold for $6,500. I tell you what, this actually might be one that we put onto our prospects list. Is actually Paul Pierce someone that we should be looking to buy into before he goes too much higher? NBA champion in 2008, finals MVP in 2008, 10-time NBA All-Star, All-NBA selection 4 times, second team once, third team 4 times, 19.7 points, 5.6 rebounds, 3.5 assists per game, Hall of Fame inducted in 2021. I don't know about him being Hall of Fame, but like whatever, there's probably 20 other guys that should be in front of him. Also, let's not forget the time he pooed his pants in the playoff basketball court. That was pretty grand too. He's definitely someone we should be looking at a little bit more. Obviously, this is just a recent sale. This is what's piqued my interest into this. This is obviously not an OG thought, but yeah, definitely need to do more research into this one. I've actually $6,500. What's Wemby selling for at the moment? So he last sold for $2,600. Pop is just 11 on this though. It's really hard to compare these like directly just because of the huge pop differential here. Or maybe this is actually the perfect comp. You've got, someone who's ultra fresh, ultra modern, blown out population to the wazoo, Hall of Fame, NBA champion, pop 11, $6,000. Like, I know what the old heads will be saying right now. Paul Pierce is the way to go. And yeah, this is the type of stuff I want to do more work into and try and find these before they pop off a little bit more. I think that'll be really quite fun. All right, let's tie off that Paul Pierce story and we're going to move on to a Kevin O'Leary clip that I found on Twitter. And full credit for the original uploaded to this, which was Jack at JACKKK on Twitter. So thank you so much, Jack, for that. Appreciate it.
In the last 48 hours, there is a card out there that we made a deal on. And the guy that sold it, who I did not know, turns out what he did is and I don't know this for sure yet, but I think we're going to find out this is the case. He used my name to trade it sideways to somebody else. What's going to happen in the next few hours to him is he's not going to like it.
Into partnership
it's going to be
with Shine. And so you might have heard of this guy, and he's also been dealing in this super high-end cards. He's basically been buying up all the really big stuff, and his belief is that they're future assets and they should be in museums. And he wants to buy up all this stuff, put them into museums, and let us look at them. This is what he's telling us. Let's see actually how it all plays out. He's had an interaction where the deal's gone side.
Raining from the sky, lawsuits from hell, because in the market, it's like the market in New York for diamond merchants. There is no paper. There's an agreement. There's a handshake, and that stone is sold. It never goes sideways. And should you ever breach that 100-year-old trust that's been generation to generation, you're banned from the industry forever. In cards, when you make a deal, because you're working with people all over the world, when you finally come to a price and you say, "Are we done?" and the other side says, "We are," it's sold. It's over. And in this case, I've never seen it happen before, but he reneged. And I consider this contemporary art, modern art. The piece is now tainted because from my legal perspective, I own it. The other All
right, I'm just going to interrupt him here. He absolutely does not own it. And I also think too about this, that it's interesting someone like this coming into the hobby and almost lecturing everybody from his perspective about how things should be done. I'm actually really intrigued by him sort of coming through and presenting information in this particular perspective.
Buyer, everybody that touches that card is going to know that I'm going to litigate for my legal claim. So that card is going to be very hairy for the next few years. Even though it's a very valuable card, it's probably going to become very famous because of the litigation, not the card. Everybody.
So then that seems to me like he's making a threat that he's going to be creating litigation out of this card, and he's going to be taking this guy to court and dragging it through. And I think his perspective on doing this is twofold. The first thing is he just wants to be a pain and cause this guy as much grief as he can. He clearly believes he can outspend him in court. Whether he wins or loses the case, he's willing to give up that cash and then move on with it. The second part that he's doing here too is he's calling out all these other people in the hobby that potentially would want to rip him off or do something to him that he would consider to be untowards in the future, which I think is an interesting strategy for him.
Anybody that touches that card, I'm going to sue them. Anybody that tries to be an agent, I'm going to sue them. Anybody that tries to auction it, I'm going to sue them. As far as I'm concerned, that's my card because the transaction took place.
I think until money transacts, it's a very murky place. So I think for him to have this viewpoint, look, I'm no legal head. I find it really head scratching that courts would even give this guy their time. Haven't they got more important things to take care of? I personally think the more interesting comment is for day-to-day hobbyists. What's your personal perspective on this? Once you've got a verbal agreement with someone, is the card theirs? Because the other thing that can happen too is that you can have a verbal agreement with someone and then they take their sweet time paying. Sometimes they don't reply back to your messages. I would love to hear the other person's perspective on this. Like, was O'Leary slow to pay up? Is that what happened here? Realistically, you don't know all the facts until all the information comes out. So I'm not willing to jump onto O'Leary's side straight away. I think that's insane. But I also think too he's being overly litigious in this space. This is from @Guru Collects. A new triple logoman just cracked the all-time leaderboard. This 2024 Panini Flawless triple logoman, Luka LeBron Curry, just sold for $657,000 via Alt XYZ. This makes it the third highest triple logoman sale ever. Behind this bad boy here, which is LeBron James, and LeBron James. And this one here is the Jordan, LeBron, and Kobe Bryant. So I personally think the staggering on these price points is correct. Do I think that this is an overpay for this? I think this is a hugely speculative card. And all kudos to them. Huge shout out to them. But I just think for me, that's definitely not the right card to be going for that much money. It is time to take a break now, and we're going to go to our first commercial of this week's podcast. Thank you to US Sports Cards Australia for your ongoing love and support. Go to ussportscardsaustralia.com.au. There you'll find sealed products, breaks, card protection, Ross's beloved water pistols, and ComCA, or as Ross calls it, Comca. ComCA is a card consignment service that is local to Australia. Go onto the main website, click on the three little noodles, get your submission form. Pay only 9 cents for your total submission, no matter how many cards you submit. Just pay for the 9 cents. Write on your submission form, you can't comp this, for this exclusive promo deal. Sales have been steady on the website, $600, $390, $240, $165. Money is flowing through the website. Ross is continuously developing on the back end, and the new website will be launching very imminently. Also, check out ComCA on Instagram, comca.tradingcards. Thank you to US Sports Cards Australia for your ongoing love and support. And we are back, and let's start talking about Bowman's Basketball, which is currently on pre-order. It's coming out imminently. This is a new feature that I want to start doing more and more, is going through product reviews. Let's just start off with the product description. I think that's the best place to start with. Bowman Basketball marks the next evolution of Bowman brand, bringing its iconic prospect-driven identity to the hardwood in a bold, innovative way. Designed to spotlight early career discovery, this release delivers the first officially licensed trading cards and autographs of the sport's most exciting incoming talent from the highly anticipated 26-27 draft class, already being touted as one of the strongest in years. Bowman will also introduce popular case hit programs to NBA basketball, creating truly first of its kind dual NCAA NBA collective experiences. All right, so let's just hold it there for 2 seconds. So the first thing there to talk about is this is actually a combined product between pro, female product, and also NBA. Now, if you do remember a review we did of product a couple of weeks back now, back when I was in Japan, so that's probably 3 or 4 weeks ago, what we were talking about there was a Panini product, and they're doing exactly the same thing, where they're actually bringing in pros to the product, but they're also bringing in collegiate athletes too. And so, my take on this was, I'm not a big fan of this at all. I think that collegiate collegiate should be in one product and NBA should be in another. You don't really want to be mixing the two in together. That's my sort of personal opinion on that. I would say also that the general card collecting community is going to feel very similar to that too, because you don't want to be paying full price for a box, and at the moment prices are going absolutely crazy, and then get your box hit and it turns out to be a collegiate player, and or it turns out to be a female collegiate player. And this has got nothing to do with women's athletes and women's basketball players. That's not my point at all. My point is that the resale and the collectability on that stuff is typically not as good. The only exception to that is Caitlin Clark, and we've spoken about her, I would say, extensively compared to other podcasts. You guys all know I'm a massive fan of WNBA product, and actually, truthfully, one of the reasons why and what got me into that and got me collecting WNBA is just because of the affordability of it. So I think that takes away the affordability of, the women's basketball products if you mix it in with men's, and then at the same time too, it dilutes down the men's basketball product. So that's my really initial takeaway on all of that, and I hope that this is something that is a singular product variation. It's not something that's going to be happening moving on throughout, because I really think this actually just dilutes down the product. I get why they do it. It lets them blow out the print run in a really significant way, putting all these different athletes into it from essentially different sports, because then you can just multiply that out across all the different parallels and all the numbered cards. So financially, it makes 100% sense. But from a collector's point of view, I think it's absolutely terrible. Let's just continue on with the read through here. Headlining the prospect checklist are projected phenoms AJ Dubbanista, Darren Peterson, Caleb Wilson, Mikal Brown, and Nate Arment, all generating major national buzz for their elite scoring ability, athleticism, and playmaking. The women's lineup is equally impressive, featuring Madison Booker, Sienna Betts, and Juju Watkins. Now, Juju Watkins is probably the biggest star out of all of these names. The caveat and the asterisk next to her is she had a season-ending injury. So that's the really big one there, is that Juju, even though she was listed as the last prospect there, this is probably not a great analogy, but it's almost like Joel Embiid type talent, where she's going to come in and could be just absolutely amazing, or could come in and it's just, really badly injured. On the NBA side, collectors can choose top rookies, Cooper Flagg, Dylan Harper, Konkanapul, along established stars like LeBron James, Steph Curry, Cade Cunningham, SGA, making this release a perfect blend of future potential and current stardom. So look, I think that's really a selling point. I think that's marketing. I don't actually believe that is genuinely true, just for the fact that I think the price point is what's going to be really messing that up. The 200 card base set features a Bowman Chrome variant, deep parallel lineup, and coveted red rookie card etched in glass variations, while the 100 card prospect insert set mirrors that premium chrome treatment and features first Bowmans. Now, first Bowmans, this is something that I'm familiar with in baseball. My brother is a big baseball collector, and he's sort of spoken to me about this over the years. And this is something that we don't really see a lot of in basketball. So in the baseball world, first Bowman's cards can go for absolutely huge money. And these players might never even make it to the pro league, to the MLB. And so what happens is they get drafted really early. They get picked up by teams. They go into their developmental leagues, and there's, 4 different developmental leagues. It's completely different with basketball. Like, you can't even really compare the G League to the way they've got the developmental league set up like they do in baseball. But anyway, I'm moving away from the point here. The point is, these first Bowman's cards can go for hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. And then if the players actually make it to the pros and become a substantial player, these cards can be absolutely, just bananas money. So I wonder if what they're trying to do here is convert another group of collectors into these prospecting demons, where you'll be spending huge dollars on these cards that essentially, like, look, in my opinion of these particular cards, they're just too high risk. I'm just not interested in spending that much money on these sort of first Bowman cards. Like, some people love it, and and maybe there will be an angle for this for NBA, but I'm a little bit I'm not too sure how that's going to convert over, because we already have that a little bit with some products that Panini released. So Panini very famously did Prism Draft, and that was something that was it was really coveted for about 3 or 4 months, and then by that sort of fifth month, sixth month, we started to get hoops, we started to get Donruss, and then all of the value came out of those Prism Draft cards. So I'm very reluctant to see actually how much value will be put into it, but again, something we should definitely keep our eyes open on. Inserts include prospect-driven cards like Talent Tracker, Gen Next, very important prospects, Bowman Verified, plus NBA Focus inserts like Rookie of the Year favorites, Hobby Stars, and all new Young Kings. Case hits bring serious chase appeal with etched in glass variants, retro fractors, Bowman Spotlights, Crystallize, I'm going to say Anime, and Bowman GPK, while autograph content is headlined by Chrome autographs, brand new designs including Future Script, Buzz Factor autographs, opening statement signatures, timeless touch signatures, and epic Bowman jewel autographs. All right, let's just scan back up to the top here. The thing I'm going to point out here, which I'm not super impressed by, I'm just going to go straight off the base. Let's just talk about the actual card design. I find this a little bit derivative of what we've already had out of Topps Chrome. That was my initial impression. When I then sat there and compared the two cards, actually there is a bit of difference there, and there's probably a bit more space in this card for the card to breathe. I think that this side sort of panel here makes it a little bit compact. So actually looking at these cards, I prefer that design versus Top Chrome, which is something I was initially, when I sat down and looked at this, I wasn't actually thinking that, but now I've had a little bit more of a chance to actually sit down and consume it for even, 2 minutes more. I don't mind this design, and it's actually really great on me, but this I quite like. I hate this actual card so much, this etched in glass. This is literally a rip-off from stained glass, which came out of Mosaic. I think that they shouldn't have done this. What they really need to be doing is focusing on generating their own case hits, focusing on creating their own artwork that's actually original. So for example, I actually really like this Steph Curry card here. I'm not actually too sure what card design this is called, but I prefer this so much more over this completely copied stained glass card here. So I think what I would really like Topps to see do is I'd like to see them create their own identity instead of leveraging off what Panini has just done and been so successful at, because I think a lot of what Panini did through the years, particularly when it comes to inserts, they had a lot of hits, but they had a lot of misses. And I think this is really a lost opportunity for Topps, because instead of just making a rip-off card, what they should have been doing is taking a huge risk on a card and seeing what would stick. Like the All Kings card that they did, I think that's absolutely fantastic. Moving down the line here, these are some of the ones that I do want to talk to you about. The Anime card, I hate this. I can't tell you how much I hate this card. This is just a terrible, shoddy ripoff of a Kaboom, and it just looks absolutely putrid. And I really hope that these cards aren't worth anything that is worth talking about. And I'm not saying that in a way that I want to see Topps fail. I don't want to see them fail. I want to see them succeed, but I want to see them make their own content and make their own cards. And this is just absolutely appalling. I don't actually know where to start with that card. I'm just going to leave that one at that. Now, this next one here, Garbage Pail Kids. I actually bought a box of Garbage Pail Kids. Why did I do it? I think it was just one of those impulse purchases. I was in a card shop. It really did take me back to my childhood. I like these cards. I think this is a super cool thing. I think the collectability on these Garbage Pail Kids cards, taking out the NBA part, is terrible. I think that it's kind of one of those things. It's almost like a pump and dump where you try and build up a little bit of hype around a product. You sell a whole bunch of stuff, and then, they just get thrown out after a couple of years or whatever. This, on the other hand, this is a crossover that is original. It is a crossover that really does bring something to the table, and I actually really like this. Do I think this will be collectible and people will be spending money on it? No, I don't think so. But at the same time too, I would probably rather see that than see this going on here. So, this is a very interesting one for me, in the sense that at least they're trying to do something. I would like to see Topps do more crossovers. I actually think there is a lot of room for that to grow within the hobby, and potentially it brings in other collectors. We spoke about this already with the Cactus Jack release that they did. Yeah, definitely we need to see more of that. Let's just exclude the fact that this is a college card. If they're using this for the pro uniforms, which I really hope that they do, I don't mind the design on this card. I think it's pretty cool. As long as it's an on-card autograph, I think that's fantastic. This card here, I actually hope they do this as a pro card, because this actually gives me a little bit of blank slate vibes, but with the complete originality of this being the Bowman Spotlight card. Fantastic design, definitely has collectability about it. If this is an SSP and or a case hit, I think that's an absolute hit, and well done to Topps and Fanatics onto this one here. Retrofractors, I can take or leave that. However, if you're a set collector, you might say, look, there's 20 or 25 cards in this. It's got some super old school guys. I'm a college collector. This is my jam. I want to see that in. Yep, fantastic. I've got no problem with that at all. It goes on to talk about here a little bit of the history around Bowman's basketball. I don't think I really need to go through this with you. It just goes through a little bit about how long it's been around for, and it introduces the whole concept around prospecting cards, which I already spoke about a little bit there with the first Bowman cards. And it also touches base a little bit too about how they're mixing the two products together. So it's basically just a bit of a repeat of what we're doing. So that's the end of my conversational piece around this. If anyone is in the chat here and wants to put in your 2 cents about it, I would absolutely love to hear it. People listening at home, if this does make it to the podcast, drop in a comment on any of our Topps Bowman posts and give me your thoughts about it. I'd love to hear your thoughts about it. All right, moving on, we're going to talk about Cade Cunningham. This is a terrible one for me. I've been really, really enjoying the Detroit Pistons this year, and I think Cade has been absolutely killing it. It's a good news story from this year. I think when we look back on this year, we're going to look back very, very fondly on Cade Cunningham and how he's all been going. I think this is going to put a real dampener on everything that's just happened for him, unfortunately, because potentially he is now going to miss out on all of his postseason awards, all NBA awards, because he's just missed out on the threshold. What I did want to talk to you guys about is the last month of his trading, because I am a bit concerned that he's going to be going down because of this injury. So the last 3 months, he's up 17%, keeping in mind that he is pretty much at all-time high pricing. At his rookie year, he got up to $1,000, and he was last trading for basically $935. So there's been a lot of opportunity to buy into Cade Cunningham. Basically from 2024 to 2025 was peak buy-in time. And from 2025, you've just seen basically a direct line upwards to the present day. What I do think we're going to see a little bit of now is him flattening out a little bit. I think that what's going to happen here, he's going to flatten out similar to what Jason Tatum did. He might go down 10 or 20%, but you're not going to see a massive crash down with this guy. I don't think he's going to be volatile, similar to, say, like a Ja Morant or a Zion Williamson, who's going to get down to $200. I really think there's a lot of collectability around this guy, particularly because of the type of injury it is. It is a complete freak injury. Talking to people who's in the medical field, there's nothing that's been said to me that this is something that's going to be a long reoccurring injury. So this is something that, potentially he could even be back for the playoffs. I think the issue for him would be conditioning going into the playoffs, because we're going to take a break and go to a commercial. The Hobby Hangout XL is in Melbourne, Royal Exhibition Buildings in Carlton, Sunday the 26th of April, 10:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Pre-release tickets are completely exhausted. First release of the general admission is currently on sale now for $29.90. I was chatting with Andrew this week. He believes this is going to be a sellout event. Tickets are selling faster for this event than any previous Hobby Hangout, so don't wait until the last day to get your tickets for the Hobby Hangout. After selling out in 2025, Hobby Hangout XL is returning to Melbourne, and it's going to be bigger than ever. 400 tables, sports cards, Pokemon, entertainment cards, live breaks, dedicated trading zones, free play areas, so you can play all your TCG and Pokemon games there. Last year, that was one of the highlights for me, seeing people interacting at that level. Expert panels, speakers, and international guests. I can now officially announce I will be there hosting at least one panel, walking around doing some interviews and some video recording with some people. It's going to be very exciting. We also have now confirmed TCG Grading is going to be on board, Anime Space, Archie's Card Emporium, Arctic Vault, Back Issue Comics, Binder Finders, Calamari Cards, and more. We will announce more over the next couple of weeks. Thank you so much to the team at the Hobby Hangout. And we are back, and we're going to continue talking about Cade Cunningham. The general rule of thumb is that if you're playing a playoff game, it's almost like playing 1 1/4 regular season game. So, that is definitely something to keep in mind when he does come back and if he comes back in the playoffs. So, yeah, we have seen a little bit of a drop off here. Look, I don't think this is fantastic news, but at the same time, too, this is nothing. I don't think this is like alarm bells in any sense of the word at all. So, he was trading at 925 down to 851. He's already rebounded up a little bit, so hopefully that will hold right there. The next one to talk about here is Nikola Jokic. I was hoping to find a few more Nikola Jokic sales here, and I thought I saw a massive rookie Prism card, but I couldn't find that in my bookmarks. But this is more than enough to talk about. This last sold just 6 days ago for $298,000, nearly $300,000 USD. iMac 1/1 rookie logoman, PSA 7, fantastic grade on a card like that. Absolutely banging, fantastic card here. I think for me, the question really revolves around, there's two parts to this. Are we now seeing an awakening for Nikola Jokic in terms of his hobby? Because I personally think that he's been undervalued the last couple of years. I think at the present you can't really continue to say that because his prices have really caught up with what's going on. And so I'm very reluctant to call him undervalued in the present market. However, there absolutely has been some value to be had with this guy. Actually, this is a card that I wanted to talk to you guys about. So let me try and find. That's the tab that I want. Alrighty, here we go. So gold to 10 on the BGS 9.5. That just sold on the 14th of March, so about 11 days ago. Population on this is 4. It sold for $320,000. Now that's super interesting, isn't it? Because now we have a direct comp on Jokic's. And when you say it like that, I gotta actually tell you, I think I like this purchase better than the gold to 10. Without stating the obvious, this is, the rookie card that you would try and covet and that you would try and collect out of any athlete. But I think what we've seen recently, and particular as we're looking into long term, when people are looking for high-end GOAT cards, these logo men are more coveted, particularly if it had an autograph on it, than a Prism rookie card. So whilst I think this is a really good purchase, and I think that, and I'm definitely not talking this down, if I'm comping these direct two cards together, actually, I like this purchase a lot more than I like the gold rookie card to 10. So, yeah, huge kudos to that. Huge kudos, I think, to the Nikola Jokic market just in totality, just because of the fact that we are now starting to see some huge sales for this guy. Oh, man. So look at this. What an absolute flip here. So this sold in 2018 for $1,400, just shy of $1,500. For $2,000, for $350 and $125. Man, you would be rolling over, wouldn't you, if you sold that for that much? And then it flipped out later on. Currently trading at, let's have a look at the PSA 10, because that's probably what I'm more interested in personally. PSA 10 is currently trading at $5,747. Look, I've got no problems with this at all. My only hang up with Jokic at the moment is, obviously, he's got that huge individual success with the multiple MVPs. What I'm really getting concerned about now with Jokic is his team success, because I think that if they're going to reload and win another championship, they need to do something drastic. I think that this current iteration of the Nuggets roster is probably played out a little bit. And as much as I love Jamal Murray, I love Aaron Gordon, I don't have a big problem with the pieces they put around it. I actually wonder if they need a little bit of a rebuild and just sort of like freshen up that roster just to get them over that next hump. SGA is tough. I think the Pistons are going to be good the next couple of years. Boston is looking really good. does Denver have enough talent to battle it out with these guys? Let's just zoom in for the last month and go through the sales prices here. 5,700, 5,000, 5,000, 5,2. So yeah, he's been trading very solidly in that sort of $5,500 mark for the last few months. Steph Curry. Let's talk about Steph Curry a little bit. I'm also interested to talk about this in the sense that we're now looking at Topps Chrome cards coming through and selling for big, big dollars. I think that this gives collectors some promise when they're buying into breaks, when they're ripping cards, that we're now seeing the aftermarket success come through too. I think this is really important for Topps. And yeah, for the Steph Curry market out there, this for me is getting a little bit cooked because this card's not even numbered to 10. This is gold to 50. And I think this is a massive movement that we need to actually see change within the Topps and the Panini changeover, because I think there's a big perception here. And actually, I think these golds are overvalued. I think this is what I'm trying to say here. You have to remember when you're buying golds now, you're not buying something numbered to 10, it's numbered to 50. And so I'm actually worried in the sense that this is actually priced out a little bit wrong. So I think that's something to keep an eye on. I think for the really big guns like Steph Curry, LeBron James, Anthony Edwards, even to a degree like that, it's probably not as a big of a deal. But once you start going into those lower end prospects, I think you need to be, really comping that out a bit more thoroughly. The other Steph Curry card I want to talk about here that came up just this week, this is 6 days ago, this got sold. You can see here there's a lot of sales data for the last couple of years. So this is not something that is particularly new, and it's not even particularly spiking that hard. So back in 2021, it sold for just a little bit less than this. It sold for around that sort of 3.8 mark. It's currently trading at 4,350. What I would like to point out here was there's two things we need to point out here. Number one, this is in a Davidson uniform, and so it's not in a pro uniform, even though it's got the Warriors logo on it. I call this the low end Steph Curry rookie card. I think that it's very much a marginal card. This is not like your top shelf rookie card that you'll be looking to purchase from Steph Curry. In saying that, I think it's a really good place for you to go if you've got $5,000 to spend, or you've got $1,000 to spend, or $2,000 to spend, and you can't afford these more higher price Steph rookie cards. Even the 2009 Bowman 48 retro card, I think that's fine. If that's what you can afford into your price point, that's totally fine. For some reason, I can't find one on Card Ladder. There has to be one on here. All right, here we go. So if you're hunting for Steph Curry's on a budget, here we go. This is what we need. Star Rookies Gold PSA 8 is currently trading at $424. And that's sold relatively recently. That sold December 2025. I've got no problems with this. I think this is actually an important card for people that love Steph Curry, who have got $500 and can't afford a more expensive card. This is what you want to see. Population on this is actually pretty good. Total population on this is 433. I think in the sense of, Steph Curry cards, in the sense of, populations, for example, Wemby, what we're seeing now where it's in the 20,000s, I think that's totally fine. This is fine. I think actually this will play out really well. And the third point I want to put into about this, and I'm going to tie this back to what we're talking about at the top of the show with the Bowman Basketball. I just think that this is the perfect time to actually mesh this back in. When you're buying this university stuff, this is an all-time Mount Rushmore player currently trading at PSA 10 of $4,300. I don't think you should be expecting anything more out of these prospect cards than that. So even if you get Juju Watkins and then she becomes to be, the next Caitlin Clark, the most you would expect out of that card is about $2,000. If we are looking here we go, at Darren Peterson, and he somehow becomes the next Anthony. It's not even right to say Anthony Edwards, is he? He's not like a proven Hall of Fame guy. The next Clyde Drexler. I think this is actually a fantastic comp, to keep that into mind on that. So yeah, that actually makes me hate this product actually just a little bit more. I like the pro design. I just really don't like what they've done here with the the player selection. I really wish they'd separated these two products out. Even if they put women's and college into one and then NBA Pro into another one, that probably would have been the better place to lay this out. Luka Doncic, gold rookie card, number to 10 for $249,000. Let's comp this straight back to the Jokic card that we were just talking about here. This sold for $320,000. The Luka Doncic sold for $250,000. I think in terms of prospecting a guy and the scalability going up to Jokic, I actually don't mind this price difference at all. I think there's enough of a price difference there to differentiate the two cards. $320,000, so that's $70,000 difference. I'm totally fine with that. Do I think that the margin should be a little bit more? It probably should be. The only thing is that's different between these guys is obviously the markets that they're in and then the position they're playing. So Luka is playing that sort of key ball handling position that we all know gets a lot more love in the hobby versus the big man position in the hobby. So that is probably, considering the resume difference and also the championship difference, that's actually probably a really fair comp in the current market. I have no problem with this at all. I would really like to see though what a PSA 10 sells for. So obviously we're just talking about BGSs right now. I would love to see what this sells for $341,000. But that hasn't sold for a year, so that's the difference. So that sold basically almost exactly 12 months ago. I would imagine that would be yeah, right. Actually, that's $90K more. Would you have the testicular fortitude to cross that over? That's really the real question, isn't it? Let's take a quick break and let's do some shout outs. Mint Collectibles for Lad12. What would Adopod? Oh man, I'm sure I'm reading that wrong. I'm sorry, man. I apologize for that. And Musker86. What's up, guys? Thanks so much for jumping into the live feed. Alrighty, guys, we're back. We're just going to whip through a couple of cards here that we've just seen head off for sale, and we're going to start off here with this Russell Westbrook 1/1 Superfractor BGS 8 Auto 10 out of 10 purchase. Whoever bought this, congratulations. Put this away, sell this to some insane rich shark in the future, maybe Kevin O'Leary. That is absolutely the play. The way that this guy stacked up numbers and accolades, I think at some point this is all going to catch up. The only one that I wouldn't mind to have a look at here is Oscar Robertson, because a lot of the records that this guy put up, I think is very comparable. I think the difference is though, Oscar Robertson got a championship. Look, it's a long time to wait for a card to go up that high, but that is absolutely banging. I think if someone's at home is going to fry me for this comparison, I'm totally fine with it. But if you're direct comping these two cards, this being a 1/1, this being a pop one, I'm going to double down on this. I think this is a fantastic long-term purchase. Tapping into what Ryan was saying to me the other day, if you're trying to quick flip, you're trying to put some money back into your account, I think this is the wrong card to purchase. That looks like a sticker autograph, which is absolutely criminal by Bowman. Speaking of Bowman. Alrighty, guys, our last one today is going to be Victor Wembanyama. This is from the weekly rip. Previous owners are heartbroken. Up 102% just in the last 12 months. Yeah, 100%. Wemby has been absolutely going crazy the last 12 months. And he's had another jump recently too. So we can look through this Tiger Stripe one here and then we can talk about, yeah, so this is up. It's going to say it's going to be up more than that, surely. Yeah, here we go. So from 15,000 all the way up there to 38,000. Yeah, massive, massive jump there. The population on this is 9. The total population on this, yeah, right. That is super low, isn't it? I mean, there's almost an argument to be made here that none graded with BGS. How much is that a statement of the current hobby that we are living in now, right? People are not even bothered to send this card off to BGS. It's all 100% PSA. You got to wonder too, like moving into the next 2 or 3 years, how much more more examples we're going to be seeing of that too. Look, obviously here you're better off to pick that up at 15K, even at 20K. That's, much, much better to pick that up. I think this is the play with Wemby. You just need to dig deeper into your pockets and pick up something that's low pop, because let's talk about this a little bit more. Let's go to the silver. It's actually amazing how high these are going up at this point. Population on a silver 10 is 5,000. The total population on this card is 8,600. So I made a claim a while back that this is going to get to 10,000. there's no doubt in my mind this is going to get to 2,000 at some point. Sorry, 10,000 at some point. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind. It's kind of plateauing out a little bit, the pop growth, isn't it? Yeah, it's really slowed down through this sort of period here. Not as much as being subbed in now. Maybe most of it's been ripped out already. All right, let's have a look at his sales for the last 3 months, because I think this is fascinating. He's up 75% in 3 months. You got to wonder what people are investing on here. Are they investing on this guy just playing great basketball? Are they hoping he's going to get all NBA or MVP? Or are they even a dark horse to win the championship? Is this what people are buying into? Or is it just a straight hype card and where people are just rolling out their cash? So when he got injured, I reckon he got injured around here. Maybe it was here, because he went down a little bit after he got injured. So you could have picked him up for 1,300 or so in that injury bit if you had the testicular fortitude to keep that up. Alrighty, guys. Now, this next one here, I do not understand this. Let's just end today's show with this. Thanks to everyone who's tuned into this. Hugely appreciate everyone for coming in. I hate this card, and I cannot say how much I hate this card. I do not understand spending 10K on a Donruss card. So what I want to do here is I want to see why someone is paying so much for this. So that's gone up a lot too. In 3 months, that's up 4,000. Yeah, that's a sell. That's an absolute sell. You unload. So guys, if you're holding these at home, just unload it as quick as you can. Maybe the play at the moment is just unload everything that's Wemby. I might have to go through my boxes like this at this point now. Okay, this is not in card ladder. Yeah, that's really bad. So these have been trading at the sort of the $1,000 mark. Like even that. So a Raw sold for 1,400, PSA 9 for 1,500. For me, I think that's as high as you would want to go on anything that's Donruss. I think the background story on this, so listeners at home, correct me on this. I think the background story on these, though, is that this was drawn by the original artist who did the Kaboom. So I think that is the tie back to all of this. They were trying to take this like full circle, but still, it's Donruss. It's a nice insert, but I think this is the type of stuff where people get really badly burned. Really quick shout out and request. If you can please go to facebook.com/YouCan'tComp hit the follow button. We're going to be giving away a free box of cards once we get to 150. Thank you to Neon Trading Cards for your ongoing support. Head to neontradingcards.com where you'll find a huge array of breaks. Soccer, NBA, MLB, F1, AFL, NRL, WWE, and Marvel. Find Neon Trading Cards on Whatnot. Neon is the exclusive home of the Lucky Card Co. repack products, Australia's leading multi-sport repack company. Neon is also a Topps and Fanatics direct breaking partner. This week on Neon's Whatnot platform, look out for those AFL breaks. They will be coming fast and heavy all through the week. Neon have also just launched their official second channel, Neon Trading Cards Plus. On the Plus channel, soccer, MLB, F1, AFL, NRL, WWE, UFC, and Marvel will be featured. Meanwhile, the main Neon Whatnot channel will run NBA breaks and Lucky Card Co. repacks. Get in, get ripping, and don't miss out. Neon is where the action is at. And welcome back. I'm here with Tim McGibney from Trip MC Cards. Did I get that right?
Yeah, you did, mate. Trip MC or Trip Mac. People go both ways with it.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And we met each other on Instagram, and I was talking to you about the first Bowman concept, so we're going to talk about that today. But I thought the best place to start with is actually just, why don't you tell us about yourself, your hobby journey? I see that you've done a card show up in Druin, so for our friends who are overseas, I think we should definitely talk about where Druin is in the world and how all that fits in.
Yeah, no, thanks, Russell. I appreciate it. And I think my hobby journey started when I was a kid. I think which is probably most of us. I was coming through the Jordan era of basketball, of NBA, where he was exploding, and essentially, I think again, like a lot of people, had a nice big gap there in the hobby, where I went away from it for many, many years, and probably in the last 2 to 3 years have found my way back into it, and now I'm full headlong into it now, mate. So
great.
Yeah, and in terms of what we're doing now, I sort of with the social media and stuff like that these days, you've just got such great reach and ability to put yourself out there and what you're doing. And it started with that, and the funny story to we now do card shows, regional card shows. So we're done a market show at Bunyip recently, and also in Druin, we're starting to branch out beyond that as well. Obviously, the Metro City card show scene is pretty populated and pretty matured, but I think regionally we don't have. We're about an hour and 15 minutes away from Melbourne.
Great. That was going to be my next question. Tell people how far away from
Yeah,
Melbourne you are.
yeah. Yeah, so when I say regionally, it's we're a good an hour and 15 from Melbourne into the country, and the access we have to card stores or the hobby is pretty limited. So essentially, once I'd got myself to a point, and my wife had got to a point where she was sick of all my cards lying around, we made a decision as a family. I've got 3 young kids; they're really into it too, and we decided let's take the show on the road.
Yeah, awesome. We were actually talking about was Matt Uger last week about this exact concept. You need to have your partner supporting you, and I think you've taken it a step further in involving the kids with it. And like, there's so many skills you can learn from that, like just dealing with people, talking with people, negotiating, and feeling comfortable about talking about money. Like that's probably, I would say, of all the things that I've learned from the hobby, that's probably the biggest one. I think for me, talking about money was very taboo before I entered into the hobby. I didn't feel comfortable with that concept at all. So what do you think you've learned from, doing your card shows the most so far?
Yeah, well, I think you're spot on. The joy I've gotten out of watching my kids interact with other kids and adults as well. Like, so my kids are 18, 13, and 10, but
Yeah, right.
we started this sort of 12 months ago as well from the regional perspective, and just watching them interact with, kids their own age, but then adults as well, dealing with the money, dealing with the software around the money, the FPOS and stuff like that. There's been massive upside for us. The connection that we get out of it on a Saturday or Sunday morning as a family, setting up, having a blast, talking to people. So I've learned a great deal of joy from not only getting able to do something that I'm passionate about with the hobby, but getting to see my kids learn these great life skills.
And just spend time with them too, man. Like get them off screens, get them out of
correct,
their bedrooms and out. Like that's. I got 2 kids, and I feel like that's my sort of constant. It's not a battle, but it's something that's on my mind all the time. It's like, how do you minimize screen time, get them out into the real world? I think, what you've done is absolutely brilliant, man. So congrats to you.
Appreciate it, mate. Thank you. Yeah.
Why don't we talk about some of your strategies around selling? What's one of the things that maybe makes you different from other vendors or other sellers? Tell us about that.
The journey into the hobby was around my son and I going to, I won't name too many names, but a very large card show in Melbourne last year. And
I think you can say the name. That's okay.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, it was Collectfest, the biggest probably getting around. But I remember leaving it feeling a little bit disappointed with the experience we had. Now, I understand how big it was, how busy it was. And, but I remember just feeling a little bit disconnected to what we were searching for and probably what the people there were able to deliver with the time they had and how busy it was. And so when we started doing this, a big thing for me was making sure that we connect with the kids, because they're the future of the hobby, in my opinion. Like I had a big gap through my teenage years and my young adult life. But, if we can keep connecting with the kids and finding their enjoyment in the hobby, it actually gives the hobby a future. So I remember walking away from Collectfest being a little bit, my son and I being a bit disappointed with the interactions that we had and took place and the lack thereof. And so when we set out about doing these ones, we wanted to make sure we were really connecting with the kids. So our price point and stuff, we make sure is in an area that's, kids can afford.
Yeah.
We like to give away lots of things and make it.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying. So I don't know what the table exactly costs, but I think part of the equation or part of the problem here is they spend, I'm making this number up, but $1,000 for the day or the weekend on the table. Yeah. And so, and a couple of vendors said this next point to me specifically. It's like, there's no point bringing $2 cards because
No.
it's not gonna cover your table cost, and there's just very little need to do that. And I think I can understand what you're saying with that almost exactly, because then that eliminates kids' pocket money budget out, doesn't it? Because then you don't have that element there. And to be honest, there was only one vendor that I spent a long time out in the $5 and $10 boxes, and unless I missed a whole bunch of other singles boxes that I just walked past, or I missed them, or whatever, I only saw one NBA section for singles boxes there. So and I think if that's what you enjoy, which I'm I do enjoy the odd bigger card here and there, but realistically I'm more in that sort of $10, $20, $50, $100 budget than the $500, $1,000. So I 100% agree what you're saying on that. I think the size of it.
Oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, doing just the size of it too. I think if you've got a country show where there's only a fraction of the people walking through, I think like they're estimating they had about 10,000 people for the weekend. Like it's
huge.
It's huge. I mean, that's just as big as the biggest card shows in America.
Yeah,
like,
agreed.
When you say it like that, it's actually quite a feat.
Yeah, and if I like what I sort of where this came from was absolutely no slight towards them.
No, like it's not even criticism. It's just an observation.
It's not even criticism.
I'm saying it in exactly the same way. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was more like this is their job. Like this, they're pouring their money into the hobby in a much bigger way than we are as a family. I just sort of realised though that there could be two levels of it, and whilst that's their full. I have a full-time job in a completely different area. This is purely a hobby, and I just sort of walked away from that experience realizing, gee, there could be two levels to this, where that level definitely has its place, and of course it has its place because that's what they need to do, and they're driving the industry in a big way. But there can be this karma. This sort of karma level, the hobbyist level, and that's where we sort of set about just trying to make sure that we're not going to our regional markets to make an absolute fortune and walk away. If I can give a couple of kids some free cards and some mystery packs, and sell some stuff, and I get to see the joy of my kids, that's huge for us too, and it drives the hobby on a different level, and eventually puts them through to the bigger guys at Collectfest. Eventually they build up that love, hopefully through us and what we're doing, and that pushes them through the different levels of the hobby. So
awesome. So just to really quickly lay this out, there's a new NBA product coming out, which is Topps Bowman. We did a product review on this, and one of the things that came out to me or stood out to me was this first Bowman concept. And so I've got a brother who's really big into baseball, and I've got a couple of friends who are into it. So I'm definitely aware of what the first Bowman concept is, but I think potentially for the average NBA collector, they're not. So I'd love to hear your perspective on just what that particular card is and how collectors interact with it, because some of these sales are huge, like just insane amounts of money are poured into these cards.
So the first Bowman concept, particularly, it's heavy in baseball, heavy in MLB, and not hugely explored in any of the other real franchises. It has been in NBA before, but not for many years, and probably not to the level it's about to be. But the first Bowman concept is around prospects coming through. Essentially, it's about getting your head around the next big rookie before they're the next big rookie. And it works very well in baseball through their college system, and also through the minor leagues as well, which has a stronger presence.
Will they be in a pro uniform or in a? Because that's the part. So look at this one here that I've just put up onto the screen. If I've done this correctly, this is the Jason Dominguez Super Refractor 1/1, but he's in a Yankees uniform. Whereas it seems to me like in the NBA product, they're going to be in their college uniform in that, or maybe that's also mixed up a little bit too, because maybe there's also going to be a Cooper Flag first Bowman, but that doesn't make sense to me because we've already had 6 Cooper Flag rookie cards already. So this is where I'm a little bit all over the place with this.
And it's going to potentially play a bit of catch up with the NBA because they're bringing it out as and they'll want to obviously make some money off some of the big rookies now. So I think that's where it'll play a bit of catch up with the NBA.
Come on, man. Topps aren't trying to cash in on all of this.
Nah, not at all. And I think in the MLB space, it's I guess how they push up through is very different. So Dominguez potentially part of the Yankees outfit for quite a while as a big prospect. So he's in a Yankees outfit because I guess they would have been very aware of his ability coming through. He would have been playing some preseason games with them, etc., etc. But you will find also Bowman product with them not in their actual outfit necessarily. So, and I think in the NBA, it's once they've played catch up with this first release, it's going to look more like college outfits, so the NCAA outfits and stuff like that.
Yeah, interesting. So I think the other thing we have to talk about too is pricing, because this is just taking a second to load, but that Dominguez sold for $474,000.
Yeah.
The Ellie De La Cruz sold for $360,000. This next one here, which that Juan Soto, that sold for $273,000. So like, we're not talking about, like, these are highly coveted, highly traded cards.
Well, I think when you're looking at a superstar player, it's all built around the rookie card or the first card, and so this just gets the jump on the rookie card, doesn't it? So I think you look at some of the massives like the Aaron Judge. I don't know if you've got it there. I probably should have sent it through to you before, but the 2013 Bowman Superfractor 101 Aaron Judge, I think this year sold for like $5 million or something. Yeah, it's about that chase, about finding that superstar before they're a big superstar, and the prices on the names that you're sort of looking for in baseball this year, McGonigal and Connor Griffin and these sorts. Yeah, you're really trying to get them before they're massive. I think the Aaron Judge gap, it sold, and I'm just digressing, but I think it sold maybe 4 years ago for $400,000 or something USD, and then this year, same card sells for 5.2 mil or something. So, yeah.
I think in my mind, this product would make sense if it was the first product that came out, and I think where I'm a little bit unsure how this is going to fit into the NBA landscape is because this is now the third or the fourth product that's come out. So maybe next year, if they reorganize the release order, that would make a lot of sense. So there's that part where I'm a bit skeptical. And the second part that makes me a bit skeptical is we don't have the same farming system that the MLB has. So a lot of the players will come in and then just go straight into the league sometimes, and often, particularly for first round picks, they'll go into the starting lineup. So there's only one example where the Oklahoma City Thunder had an agreement with Josh Hustis. They would draft him as a first-round pick, and then he agreed to go to the G League for 1 year. That's the only time I would say, okay, this is applicable for someone to have that first Bowman NBA card, but who cares about Josh Hustis? I don't think anyone would even want his Prism rookie card now, let alone a first Bowman. So, look.
No, I think you're right. The farming system is what really separates the two. It's probably what's creating, and hence, as we said before with the Dominguez card, like, I think the two sports that get a hold of these players are MLB and soccer, that really get a hold of a player and well before they've really become a massive superstar. But so that is a big unknown with the NBA product.
Yeah,
I think I think it's going to work based on the draft class that's coming through this year, in the sense that it's, I believe, probably potentially the deepest it's maybe ever been, and the buzz around some of the players coming through, I think, will drive the product. New product hasn't been seen. Topps gets the license back. This draft class is being spoken about heavily at the moment.
Yeah.
So I think they get a free pass probably this year on the product.
Yep.
How they continue to do it, I'm not sure either.
And I agree with that. I think that they had some unlicensed product that came out, and I think that was actually good for them to sort of get some reps in, because just to get to the volume that they need to do for NBA, get their products right, all that type of stuff. I've got no real problem with that at all. But yeah, I actually would like to see this concept work, but I think ultimately where I lie with this is that you can still prospect on Topps Chrome refractors, and that's probably where I'll go to, because why would I go to a first Bowman if I can just get the Topps Chrome refractor? And also, if it's already came out first, I think that's probably my final thought on this. Talking about the 2026 mock draft. So the general consensus is, just say you got the number 5 pick in the 2026 draft, that's equivalent to getting the first overall pick from last year. So that's how deep,
It's
this draft is. And look, Boozer in college has just been insane. It's just like a man playing against boys. AJ, yeah, it's hard to describe him as a talent. I think I don't watch enough college to do it, but the stuff I have, like the highlights I've seen of him, he's ready to be in the NBA right now. Why they held back for that year? He could just go straight in now. Yeah,
I agree, and I think, as I said, I think they're gonna get the product passed. I think we'll have a serious buzz this year based on it being a new product back. The MLB fans will enjoy it, but the question, I think, I don't know the answer to it either, is is Boozer going to be wearing a Duke jersey, or is he going to be wearing his drafted team's jersey with the 0 on it, like you see sometimes as well? Like, I don't know how that translates to someone who barracks, supports for Charlotte Hornets, whether they want him in a jersey with 0 on it or whether they want to collect the one with Duke. So
my criticism of Chrome is that they've got college uniforms in it and women pros. And this is not about me criticizing the women pros, but I don't want to buy an NBA product to get the box hit, which is a college basketball card that in 6 months' time is going to be down 75%. Like, that's my personal opinion. So
correct,
to your point, I really hope these first Bowman cards are in their pro uniform and they're not in a college uniform. So
no, I agree as well. I think for the larger audience, there's a strong college following in the USA, and so the product will probably do fine there. But I think outside the USA, where most hobbyists are going to want to see them in their pro uniform. So
yeah, that's it. All right, man, let's tie this off. Let's keep it nice and short and sweet. Any final thoughts here?
No, mate, as I said, I just appreciate the chat. It's great to collaborate with other people, and I'm excited to see how this turns out, and when it releases, what we get from it.
Why don't you drop something that you're currently working on at the moment? So just tell us, do some self-promotion.
We'll continue to hit the regional markets. So, if you just keep an eye, I've got a Facebook page and an Instagram page, which is at TripMac Cards and Collectibles. And happy to chat with people at any time about the hobby and what we're doing. And just a message to everyone to keep enjoying it. And
Thank you so much, man. Thank you, everyone, who's listening at home. Have a wonderful day, and we will catch you on the next one. Peace.
Beautiful. Thanks, Russ. See you, mate.
Cheers, Matt.